Hello, everybody. It is me, Demetra K, and I'm sitting here with Donovan, the recovering Democrat Sadiq, also known as the Black Yul Brenner. I should say that the purpose of the Demetra K show is to promote Black love, knowledge, and understanding of all things that go on in the Black community, to make us an even better people, with the emphasis on even, because we're great people, but we can always strive to do better. Like I said, Big Giant, thank you, hello, and welcome to YouTube and Facebook. You are the other side of the conversation. Also, to my wonderful moderators, thank you for all that you do and holding down the comment section. It is much appreciated. Today, we're going to be talking about a Latino construction crew confronted by a brother over not hiring Black Americans. So I'm going to show y'all that video and some of the other things that I learned for the reason of the video. Very interesting. So that is going to be a loaded conversation and a whole host of other things. But in the meantime, Donovan, will say you while I cool off, because I started sweating already.
Yeah, I usually do that to a lot of women when I'm in their presence and stuff. But it's been 30 something years. I don't, you should be cooled down by now. But anyway, welcome to another important conversation we are going to have. Good to see you guys back with us again. We thank you guys for all the support, but again, you guys, we call not only our friends, but our co-hosts. You guys make the show hot, basically, with your questions and comments. And Demetra, I was really looking at some other programs, and I think if you go back 10 years, because we've been doing this about 10 years now, if you go back about 10 years, we were really the only ones that were reading the comments as we were doing the show. So that's something that's an originator. So I want to thank you guys for joining us. We know you guys can be in a lot of other places, but you guys chose to be here to have this important conversation with us. Do us a favor. We have a scrolling banner at the bottom. If you guys would like to continue to have these great conversations, keep Demetra with these great topics, buy her a cup of coffee, do something like that, or add to the show. You can do that by Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, money order, cash, however you guys want to do it. Also, to get information what's going on all around the diaspora, I'm telling you guys, the African Diaspora News Channel app, you can get it on Google Play, Apple Store, under $10. I believe it's $9.99 a month. Things are going to be going, and Dr. Phil, he could raise the prices, but right now he knows everybody's kind of pinched with the gas prices and everything like that. Graduation for a lot of people are happening this year. My nephew is graduating. He is the baby of our branch of the family, and so Uncle will be free. He is a grown man now. You ain't got to come to me for nothing. Don't come to me for nothing. Figure it out. The greatest gift you can give somebody is the gift of knowledge. And African Diaspora News Channel is a gift that keeps on giving. You got the Emancipation Channel, Demetra K, Wangel, Brother Phil Scott, and a whole plethora of news and Afro AI, and all kinds of stuff that's going on there to let you know what's going on all around our diaspora. Again, you can get on Google Play, Apple Store. Also, do not forget, they are going to Brazil. I'm not sure what the seating is on that or whatever. If they filled up, they probably filled up. But they also go on annual trips around the world, during the year. And do not forget, Columbus, Ohio is coming up on the 23rd of May, I believe. And you will see Demetra K, Brother Phil Scott. Yes, Columbus, Ohio, at the Ohio Black Expo. Tickets, I looked at the tickets. The tickets are not expensive at all. I mean, they are really, really affordable. So please, if you guys are interested, you're in the area, come out to the Black Expo and possibly meet and greet Demetra K. So fellas, even if you can't get close to her, just seeing that wagon dragging, no, she'll be dressed, but still, the Black Expo is something you guys need to come out and support. So again, Demetra K, Phil Scott, and the crew will be out there, and I think Vicky Dillard's going to be there as well. So you guys tune in.
Absolutely. And hello to everybody. I saw somebody say they having a Pan-Africanized Juneteenth in the diaspora. I ain't heard nothing about that, but of course y'all know that all is coming up next month in June. Brother Don, how you doing? So okay, let's get into it for the sake of time. So I was, on the internet very briefly today, and the first thing that I saw when I logged into TikTok was this video that I'm about to show you, and I watched it. It's pretty interesting. Now it comes to us from a brother by the name of Tiwon, Stuart Lee Sims, and He is in the, I don't know if he's part of Chicago Flips Red, but I seen that he posted a lot of Jessica Jackson, Danny C, Zoe, and all of them, right, brother Blake Moore and all of that. So they're very active. They being brother Tiwon, all of them very active in the city of Chicago. Of course, you guys know what's going on in Chicago, where they have a mayor by the name of Brandon Johnson, who's a black mayor who does nothing, absolutely nothing for Black Americans, and he does a lot for illegal immigrants. And so this particular story that I saw, I found to be very interesting. And then after I show y'all the video, I'm going to show you what else I found regarding this story. So watch what he has to say.
Not one black body. Look, this Madison, this where it started at. This where the Jerry Lewis, prominent contractor Jerry Lewis, who was supposed to be contracting in here, who pushed for opportunities for foundational blacks. What? There's no black American. There's no foundational black Americans on this crew. Who is the who the foreman? Who the foreman, my man? All right. This subcontract, what crew is this, my man? Y'all don't hire black Americans? Y'all know this a predominantly. Why is what? Hey man, you can go and play. I'm talking about bid. I'm talking about opportunities for black men doing work, not no flagging. That's a woman. I'm talking about where the black Americans at. Where the Americans at? This is why Jerry Lewis is dead. Y'all know prominent contractor Jerry Lewis, 67-year-old black man that was assassinated out here on Madison Street. This why he look dead so y'all can work. Where the black Americans at? Why y'all get the opportunity? Where? Man, you got to be out your motherfucking mind. What's your name? Como te amo? Como te amo? Como te amo, hermano? Como? Right. You ain't gonna say your name, right? You ain't gonna say your name, is you? The fuck out of here. But they ain't what? So y'all ain't got no black union men that can come in this community? Right. Get out of here, man. Get out of here. Look, brother. Hey, brother. Excuse me, brother. There was a 67-year-old man named Jerry Lewis that died. These people got his opportunity. These people got the opportunity. Look at them. They look. This what the 1901 project brought. They talk about we got CIC. No, y'all ain't got CIC. Where are the foundational black Americans? In their own neighborhood, in your own neighborhood. That's the joke. They want it to be a running joke. Not one black man. Not one black man on the crew. Look, not one black man on the crew. You want opportunity, don't you, brother? Not one black man on the crew. Right in our neighborhood, though, we gonna keep taking it.
Okay, so again, that was brother Tiwon, Stuart Lee Sims, and he is very active in the community. As you saw, he ran up on the construction crews like, okay, well, where are the black Americans, right? So y'all might have noticed that he mentioned a gentleman by the name of Jerry Lewis, who unfortunately was unalived. I'll just say that. And I'm going to show y'all a brief news clip about it. So here we go.
More about a 67-year-old man who was killed yesterday near the United Center. Friends said Jerry Lewis loved his community and he loved to help others. NBC5's JC Navarrete is in the newsroom on the story tonight with how he is being remembered. JC.
Hey there, Steph and Allison. Another tough one here this evening. Lewis had his life cut short in broad daylight and just blocks away from the United Center. Friends tell me he was a great man and a successful contractor, many looking up to him as mentor.
He was hilarious. He was fun-loving. He loved the people. He loved the community.
Those who worked alongside Jerry Lewis are struggling to understand why someone would so brazenly end his life in broad daylight. Lewis was killed Tuesday, just before 1 p.m. His body left on the 2100 block of West Madison. He was rushed to Schroeder Hospital, where he died. He'd been shot in the head.
When I got the call, I dropped everything. I came straight over here, saw the tape, and I just stood out here and cried.
Lewis had been walking near offices where he worked alongside Tracy Quinn, who calls him a mentor.
He was a mentor to many. He was selfless, but he was also no nonsense. And he did not play, but he's changed a lot of people's lives out here in the community and here in the city of Chicago.
I'm told that Lewis was even an integral piece in the 1901 project, the $7 billion development site for the United Center. And while the killers may have taken a life, Quinn tells me his impact is something the killers will never be able to touch. Wednesday, Lewis's family and friends just want justice to be served as they begin to mourn a life taken too soon.
We're going to make sure that his death is not in vain. So while they think that they took something, no, we get ready to gain everything.
Okay, so again, you heard that he was unalive, and I'll show y'all who he was unalive by in just a second, but I want to put this up as I read to you a little bit more about Mr. Jerry Lewis and the 1901 project. So Jerry Lewis was a longtime Chicago West Side developer and contractor who became known for pushing community-based economic development around the area surrounding the United Center. Although information about his construction company itself is somewhat limited, so I couldn't find, but it says Lewis was widely recognized in Chicago real estate and construction circles for mentoring small contractors, helping minority-owned businesses, getting access to projects, and advocating for local hiring on redevelopment efforts connected to the West Side. A major part of his later work was tied to the massive 1901 project, a multi-billion-dollar redevelopment plan around the United Center on Chicago's West Side. The project was backed by the Rensdorf and Wirtz family, owners of the Chicago Bulls and Chicago Blackhawks, and was designed to transform large parking lot areas into mixed-use neighborhood with housing, hotel, retail, entertainment venues, offices, parks, and public gathering spaces. The 1901 project was supposed to help revitalize a historically underserved and predominantly Black and Latino section of Chicago's West Side. Plans included thousands of housing units, affordable housing set-asides, new green space, and a major job creation through both construction work and permanent jobs after completion. Reports connected to the project estimated tens of thousands of construction jobs and thousands of long-term jobs. Now, as y'all saw there, the brother saying he don't see any Black folks. Now, the guy pointed to, I guess, one Black woman. You know how they have people at the construction sites and they're waving the flags like, okay, pay attention, that type of thing. But he says, okay, stop playing with me, right? So it says one of the key community goals behind the project was ensuring local residents, especially longtime Black residents and small business owners, would benefit economically instead of being completely pushed out by redevelopment. According to reports after Lewis's death, he focused heavily on helping neighborhood entrepreneurs, minority contractors, and residents gain opportunities tied to the project through hiring, business growth, and investment access. The project itself is enormous in scale. Early plans described roughly 55 acres of redevelopment around the United Center, including the entertainment venues, retail corridors, hotels, apartments, public parks, and transportation improvements intended to reconnect parts of the West Side that had long been economically disconnected. Supporters viewed it as a chance to bring investments and jobs to an area that had experienced decades of disinvestment. Critics and some residents, however, also raised concerns about gentrification and whether long-term residents would truly benefit or eventually be priced out. Now, lastly, it says construction on early phases of the 1901 project began moving forward in 2025 and 2026 with infrastructure work, parking structures, and entertainment facilities along with first stages planned. The overall development is expected to take many years, potentially extending into 2040. So basically, me and Mr. Lewis was a big part of that. Again, he was very involved in the local community, trying to make sure that Black folks and other people, I guess, had jobs and opportunities and things like that. And as you heard the sister say, it sounds like she mentored him. Sounds like she has her own construction company as well. But she said he was very deeply involved in the community. Now, unfortunately, his life was taken by these two dudes here, Nacy Mason and Irving Harris, 28 and 31. Now, it sounds like Mr. Lewis was trying to go into his building, and as one of the employees was coming to unlock the door to let him in or whatever it was, they were seen on surveillance hiding out in a stolen Honda. And when they saw him, approaching the door, they got out and, they unalived the man horribly, I should say that. And as it should be said that they tried to run, but moments later, they were apprehended. Now, at first, it kind of seemed like they were kind of trying to figure out what to do. But in the long run, they ended up charged on a first-degree murder and 2 other charges. So that's who did that to him. Now, I don't know. It sounds like there's a lot of conversation as to who sent them, what's really going on. Sounds like, many are saying, especially like with the Latino crew, there was this done to him by design to move, Mr. Lewis and what he was trying to do for Black folks out of the way. Now, of course, we also know, let me take these two suckers down, if they're guilty, like they say they seen them on the surveillance, they need to never get out, okay? But we also know that Chicago is very it's a what you call a sanctuary city, very immigrant friendly, where we know that Mayor Brandon Johnson has done a whole lot to protect illegal immigrants, along with the governor of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, making sure that they are, ICE does not get a hold of them. That was one of the epicenters, if you will, of ICE activity. And they did a lot, talking about you're going to have to say it to my face and all these other things. Of course, we know that Chicago Flips Red is a product, if you will, of the benign neglect. Of course, that entails Sister Jessica Jackson, Danny C., Zoe, and Brother Blakemore, and a whole lot of other people, right? Where they decided, hey, we're going to try to flip this red, meaning make it into a Republican city. Chicago's very blue, probably one of the bluest, cities in the nation. But they say, we're tired of the benign neglect. Also, as a result of what has gone on with illegal immigration, although the city is saying, well, that's not what it is. Some of the Black residents are facing 133 property tax hike, 133% property tax hike. Now, the city is saying, it's due to the commercial buildings. They're not really bringing in the revenue. So we got to raise the property taxes on the residents. Well, unfortunately, that affects a lot of the Black folks. Also, we've seen where a lot of the illegal immigrants were moved into the Black cities. Y'all saw infamously the illegal immigrant stood up there at the city hall meeting and says, you lazy, you don't need no money, and that's why you don't deserve no money and all this other stuff. Now, before I give to Donovan, I kind of want to tie in a lot of the stuff that we are seeing today, right? And I also say that the mayor, while he does not have a direct say so as to who gets it, right, because as far as the contracting jobs, he does have some say so over the budget, some of the hiring guidelines, and things like that. Ultimately, it's a city council situation, and there is a chief procurement officer by the name of Charlotte Roberts there. Sounds like some people have some issues with her. But I want to say this, especially with the redistricting and things that's going on now all over the South. I actually had a very insightful conversation with somebody earlier. One of my longtime friends, he called me, and he always does when it comes to different things. In a sense, he kind of was freaking out a little bit. Well, what do you think about the redistricting? And this is racist. And I said, yes, all of that. So when I got to ask him, said, okay, well, what are you losing because of the redistricting? Can you still vote? I said, you live in a red state. I live in a red state. Can you still vote? He says, well, yes. And I said, okay, so what exactly are you losing? He says, well, with the voting rights, how they used to do the bubbles and the soaps and the marbles. I said, when is the last time you had to count bubbles and soaps and the marbles? And he says, well, I haven't had to do it. I said, so we had a conversation when that happens. I said, so we had a long conversation, but honestly, what I was trying to get him to answer to me is, what is the Black representation in these Black districts doing for Black folks? And he couldn't tell me anything. He says, you know what? That's why I call you, so I can get an understanding. So the point that I'm bringing that up is because here we have all these Democrats fighting for the Black district. Oh, we need to fight. They marched in Selma yesterday. It's symbolic. They marched in Selma, okay, for the voting rights. But then you see stuff like this brother saying, where are the Black people? Where the brother that was, the gentleman, rather, Mr. Lewis, who had his life taken from him. That's what he was about. And now that he's gone, now we're seeing these all Latino crews, as if Chicago doesn't have a large, Black population there. So again, these are the questions we have to answer. What is the Black representation actually doing for us that's worth fighting for them to keep the job, opposed to anybody else getting the job? So Donovan, what say you?
That's amazing. That picture freaked me out. And I'm just kind of, imagine these people working at your bank. Imagine these people serving your food. I'm just saying, appearances matter. And what kills me as a Christian and a Catholic that I am, when I see a cross on the middle of your damn forehead and you do allegedly a heinous crime the way that you did that, but yet you've got a cross in the middle of your head as if you're not godly, but you're a follower of Christ. It's just amazing to me. But anyway, I'm glad we're bringing this topic up, because Demetria, in my city, Years ago and every year I ask what the statistics are on Black contracts within my city. How many times, you guys, have I told you guys everything starts at your level, not the federal level, at your level, the local level. That's what affects you the most. Most of these cities at the city level, they bid their contracts. The contracts are bidded. Now, if Black contractors do not put in a bid, you're not in the game. It's just like buying a lottery ticket. If you don't buy any lottery ticket, you have no chance. But if you buy one lottery ticket, depending on how big the lottery is, you have a chance in a billion, chance in a million, but you got a chance. In my city, and I can only speak for my city, there are no Black bids put in for anything. All of the school landscaping contracts, the parks landscaping contracts go to Hispanic contractors that bring in their family and their friends and their hermanos and all that other stuff. And then you wonder, here in California, where gas is $7 and something, the good gas, all of these Mexicans and Hispanics and Latinos are driving big ass gas guzzling trucks. And it makes you wonder, where are they getting the money to do that? They come across the border. And do you know what a lot of these Latinos do? And I'm not disparaging them. I'm not at all. What I'm trying to tell you is how and what they do here. The first thing they do is they open up a landscaping company of some sort, not in all cases, but in some sort. Then they go and bid for these contracts because, they're doing the jobs that we don't want to do, right? And then they get these contracts. In my city, there is not one Black contractor that contracts with the city. These are your tax dollars that are going to other people who are sending it back to the home country. This is what this channel, Brother Phil Scott, Emancipation Channel, all of these channels out here, Jessica Jackson, all of these people have been trying to tell you guys, we are not in the game. We're not even on the damn bench. We're not even in the stands with the ticket and the popcorn. We're outside in the parking lot hollering and screaming about gimme, gimme, gimme. We've got to form these businesses and compete. We've got to compete. Like I said, I'm speaking for my city. Maybe in predominantly Black cities where a lot of you guys are from, the Black people control the contracts like they should. But here in my city, where it's 30% Black, 30% white, 40, 50%, really probably 70% Hispanic because of the illegals, they get all the contracts. And we're not talking about minuscule contract. We're talking about big money contracts. 3-4 years worth of landscaping that go to their friends. And just like this guy showed you guys, they don't even hire Blacks. It's all Hispanic. And I'm just not, I'm just not surprised by that at all. So, I'm going to tell you this. When I was in the Dominican Republic, I'm friends with the second biggest developer in the Dominican Republic. And me and this man sat down and we had a nice conversation because I bought into some of his properties or whatever the thing was. And he told me the game about how business operates. He said, to be in business, he said, real business, you got to be gangsta. This is a German man telling me this. Okay. He's a German man that lives or he's really Austrian, but he lives in Panama. He said, you have to be gangster. So allegedly, the situation with this man being deleted the way he was, I would not be surprised that it was a targeted hit to get him out of the way. Time and time again, we see these things actually happening. And for those of you guys that are in business, that know the tenets of business, it is gangster. Look at how we deal with our politicians. What's the biggest thing here in Demetra that we have in the Inland Empire? The white envelopes. They get passed around. This is all finaglery and gangsterish type stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So it's not a surprise that this is going on. This man gets removed and all of a sudden you got Latino workers again, hurting the American job worker by bringing the wages down because they bid at a very low offer to get the contract, and then the kickbacks start coming in a little bit later. So not a big surprise to me, but we as Black people, in my opinion, we can't sit there and holler and scream when we're not even playing the game.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's a lot of criticism too, as far as where the Black folks don't have construction, companies, things like that. But Mr. Lewis did, right? He had that, and was, sounds like very productive and upwardly mobile, and mentoring and people like things like that on in that neighborhood. So that wasn't the case for him, but that's normally. And there are some Black construction companies, not as much as it should be, right? Be like in position to be able to get those jobs or whatever it is. But I think, and I see a lot of people say too, Baltimore, wherever, no matter where you live, you see the same thing. Even here in Houston, I see some Black people on the construction crew. I'm seeing more now than I had before, but it's still, predominantly the same thing. So Cynthia, thank you so much for that. You say, truth be told, in Michigan, some of the Black Democrats cannot jump until the that's cute. The white Democrats tell them when and how high. I know, absolutely. And then Kubler, how you doing? You say Uncle Lou did an amazing breakdown on this very subject. Blacks not getting contract bids in Miami, and always go to Latinos. But you see, that's why we got to pop and love Uncle Luke, because Uncle Luke, he's a big time Democrat shield as well. At first he wasn't, but then he got on board. And so it's like the party that he is championing. And I know he's running. I don't know if he still is, if he got out primary. I don't know what the situation is there in Miami. But the party that he is defending most of the time, that's the one who, is very other oriented. They're not for Black folks. I don't care if they're Democrat or not. They're not. And somebody also asked, what about why would they be running to their running if they had a car? So they were actually running, the guys. They were actually running to the car, and then they got stopped. And the one guy put his hands up before he got to the car, from what I was reading, and the other one they caught. They didn't have a chance. But yeah, so a lot of y'all saying it sounds like maybe it was a hit. That's kind of what I'm getting to, because what's the motive? They asked last time I saw. I don't know if there's any new information, but they said they don't know if there's any ties to these guys at all. I mean, like you said, I'm not trying to judge a book by its cover, but looking at these guys is like, would a man that's upstanding in the community like that necessarily have ties to people like that? I don't know. Maybe it was a disgruntled employees. Who knows? I don't know. But they said at the time that I saw, they couldn't really see any relation to them at all. So it did look like a hit for sure. Z Goddess, what's going on? Said little boys washing cars, they want to work at a young age. Yeah, but they do. They get and even the boys at the water boys and stuff like that, especially out here, in different places, they're selling the water bottles and stuff. They get harassed and stuff by the police, by everybody else. But then everybody else can sell mangoes and tacos and all kind of stuff, and don't nobody say nothing to them at all.
Real quick, I'm gonna jump down in the comments. I Fit Stove 19 says, Black folks need money to get in the game. Do you know how many times I hear that? Do you know how much it costs to start a landscaping business anywhere in the United States? But I'm gonna speak in my neighborhood. You buy a couple of shovels, you buy a couple of this, you buy a couple of that, whatever. What, Demetri? What? Maybe $1,000. Get a couple of your friends to do whatever, and then go make your bid, or and put in your LLC if you do that. Whatever you're going to do, and you put your bid in. So what money do you need? See, we keep making these excuses, and I'm not saying this to you, I Fit, but if you want to talk about we need money, Demetri, how much do Black people give away every year?
Seeing almost $2 trillion, give away 97% of that.
So that's a lot of money. So it's obvious to me we have the money. So we really got to stop with that nonsense.
Absolutely. We do have the money. We just misappropriate it, right? We spend it on everything else but what we really need, and we have to stop doing that. It said that if we was just to keep 10%, right, opposed to the 3% that we keep, because again, if you give 97% of the way, keeping 3%. But if we were to keep 10%, we could invest in contract construction businesses and a whole host of other things. So it's not even keeping the 100%, which would be great, right? But just 10. If we could just focus on the 10. But the other part of that is where there are some Black construction companies, right? They do get outbid. And I know people who aren't even necessarily in construction companies, but even like landscapers and all that kind of stuff. They talk about how they get underbidded and a whole host of other things all the time, especially by a lot of immigrants, and probably a lot of them, or I don't say a lot of them, but some of them are illegal, so they get undercut. They say they'll get a phone call saying, well, you know, I don't need your services anymore because, you know, such and such. So what they'll do is they'll say, okay, they doing it, let's say for 80. We'll do it for 50, right? That's a bargain. You can't, I would just say don't do that because you're going to pay what you get, you know, for what you get, right? Type of thing. So yeah, we kept some money. We can invest in our own construction companies like we used to do. So we got to get back to that. Let's see, VW was going on what she said. The whole politics of Chicago is based off of gangsterism. Yeah, if you know, you know, and that's historical, right? As with, I think, most politics, there is some gangsterism, right? Maybe it's some mafia connections and all that. Chicago's big time mafia epicenter of the triple OG gangsters. I'm not talking about the ones, the Bloods and the Crips. I'm talking about, you know, the OGs, the Al Capones and all them, right? So yeah, they had a big hand moving in politics, whether it was for, you know, prohibition and a whole host of other things. And, you know, the more I study about prohibition and things like that, I'm like, I see why these white men be pissed off with these white women, because the white women is the one that got that crump. The white women was like, we need to shut it down because they drinking and it's unholy and all this. And they, you know, went all over the country, plastering things all over, talking about how alcohol is the devil and our men need to come back home. And so the government acquiesced. They was like, okay, bet. And prohibition and the mafia and all that got started up. So I see why that white man is like, listen, Becky Sue, I'm gonna need you to sit down. Because remember Elizabeth Cady and all them, you know, women running around with Bibles and talking about y'all can't drink no more.
Well, you got to remember also, it is alleged that Joseph P. Kennedy got a lot of his money during the Prohibition. For those of you guys don't know who Joseph P. Kennedy is, he's the father of John F. Kennedy and Robert Kennedy. That's how they got a lot of their money.
And he was negatively finagling the stock market, lying to different companies and stuff, saying, oh, I heard this, that, and the other. And he just flat out lying. And that's how he also made a lot of money. Like you said, that's RFK, and was RFK's granddaddy, RFK Jr.'s granddaddy. But yeah, the president, John F. Kennedy's daddy, was a crook. Okay. Detroit Forever, how you doing? Says a brother confronting white Hispanics about not hiring blacks. That's like asking the KKK why they don't accept black members. You can't make this stuff up. Yeah, but but to the whole context of the video, what he's saying is this used to be blacks, right? Until the black construction company owner was unalive, and then now they're here. So he's basically saying, what happened to the blacks? What we can't still have this you know, this 1901 project and things will promise some jobs to the community, things like that. But as he's walking around, he like, where they at, right? So, and if they're just contractors, you would think, I don't know, but like he said, it sounds like the brother was saying that particular area is a predominantly black area. So he's saying, why isn't the workforce reflective of the people who live here? So I think that makes perfect sense. See, because what happens is when we act like, I was going to say something very strong, but that's Sunday. When we act like punks, then we get treated like punks, right? Shout out to the brother for going up and saying, hey, we're not sleeping around here. We see that you're in a predominantly black community and there's only one black woman waving a flag, right? Where he says, where are the workers? We know that construction workers make a lot of money. Right. So a lot of that money can be going back to the black community. So shout out to him for saying, hey, we see what's going on. Don't point to me that one black lady. Where the other people at? So shout out to him.
And notice all of a sudden he doesn't understand English as the guy's talking to him.
And ain't you supposed to? I mean, especially if you're doing something like that. And the dude pointed to the guy that he went to. So he seems like he was the foreman, like he was the one that was calling the shots. And now you can't communicate with me. I think that's a problem. Yeah, Big Harry says Uncle Luke is shilling using our talking points to gain favor. Yeah, we ain't forgot. He's a big time shield, you know. Azure, how you doing? You said Central and South American governments are all crime families. Well, I don't know about all. I ain't that far into the weeds with all that they doing. Facts, my feelings just I have a black attorney who I gave business to cut me out of that business transaction. I gave them then middle class is failing the black population. Yeah, the middle class is barely is hanging on life support anyway. But I think by now, all these years, especially the black middle class, the boule, if that's what we call them, we know that this talented 10th theory never panned out and it never will. But we, you know, the rest of us, we got what it takes to save us. So yeah.
Real quick, you know, just tying this stuff in. How many of you guys are aware that Prescott Bush, his bank funded the Nazis and it was shut down during World War II by J. Edgar Hoover? Who's Prescott Bush? That's George W. Bush's grandfather and Daddy Bush's father, who also became a senator. So I'm bringing this stuff up to show you the ties of business and government working inexplicitly to themselves. Now, when business and government work together, what is that the definition of, Demetra?
When business and it's don't tell me business and government is oligarchy.
No, fascism.
That's what I meant. Fascism.
Yeah,
fascism.
Fascism. Yeah. See,
yeah.
And nobody's paying attention to all of this.
Are the 1% and all that. Yeah, fascism. Right. So that's why you have people say we're anti-fascist, and a lot of people say, okay, well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with being anti? But you know what I'm saying? And then when you think about it, it's like, well, what is wrong with that? Why does anybody want money or, you know, or businesses, which that's been a thing for a long time, influencing government, right? The government, they dictate the way citizens live, but then you got corporations, which is why Communist Manifesto tried to tell you, you know, it's never about you. It's always about the money. So yeah. Let's see, skipping on down. Stovey, how you doing? Says black folks need money to get in the game. So you read that one. Yeah. Gaga says, and from the way they run the Bulls organization is racist as hell. Really? Yaya's kids, you say facts. Just me says our ancestors built over 100 all black cities. Please stop the cap. What I understand, it was 1,200. From what I saw, could be off, maybe it's big and small, but about 1,200 were built. You know, Lily, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Just me says no Mexicans have built over 100 cities. They're giving your rights because black men refuse to leverage anything. I don't think it has a lot. I mean, black men have some culpability in what's going on. Black women have some culpability. But I think we should also look at who you vote for, right? At the end of the day, depending on where it is, city, local, state, or whatever it is, they have a direct impact on your life. So we got to be careful of who we vote for. If you're voting for people who don't care as they drive down the street in an all-black community that the construction crew or whatever is all Latino and they don't see you out there and they don't care, then you probably don't want to vote for them again, right? You don't want to get the run around the okie doke, the banana and the tailpipe from them ever again. Just don't vote for them, right? But is there some things black men need to do? 100%. Absolutely. Black men need to, you know, get back to their rightful place, as somebody said. You know, mechanics used to be a lot of black mechanics. My daddy was one his whole life, right? And you don't see those anymore. Most people got to go to somebody else to fix their cars. So yeah, we need the brothers to step up and take these trades up again so they can be about the community, fixing the community and all those other things. I agree with you.
Yeah, again, you guys got to tie all this stuff together. Why did they take vocational application skills out of the high schools? Because black men would go and start auto mechanic buildings and wood shops and all these other things and become carpenters and stuff. They didn't want us and just general young people having a means of starting our own business without going into one of the biggest scams that is still going on in America, college. You go to college, you got everybody's brainwashed to go to this college for jobs that aren't there. And even if you got a degree, you got a master's degree, but they want to pay you $11 an hour. Doesn't make sense.
Yeah. And Herb, you say that the Nation of Islam under the leadership of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad showed black Americans how to do business in America. Yeah, the blueprint is the same. But it's us, right? We want to try redo everything. It's just a simple process, right? As the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan outlined one time, he says, you eat bread, don't you? Yeah, you eat bread, okay. Plant some seeds, cultivate the wheat, harvest the wheat, package the bread, bake the bread, package the bread, sell the bread. You know what I mean? But we don't own the stuff that we buy and partake in every day, right? You need a mechanic to fix your car. You should have a black mechanic. You should have a few black mechanics. You need to eat bread, right? Those of you who eat bread, yeah, okay. I should go to the black bread company or whatever it is. So we got to get back in that frame of mind, because what we have done, and I understood what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad was doing, he was trying to keep us from being a nation of beggars. And in a sense, that's where we are now, but we forget, per my picture back here, they didn't beg, they went and made it themselves. Madam C.J. Walker, Villa Laurel, right? So we got to get back in the mind frame that, yeah, we need these politicians to do something for us, but we ain't going to expect them to do something for us that we're not doing for ourselves. So we got to get back to that. So absolutely. Tanya says, right, Joe Kennedy and the Kennedys were crooks and criminals. Yeah, it's all documented. Green, how you doing? He says, Black American spending power is over 2.1 trillion. Yeah, we keep 97% of that. It said that the black dollar circulates 6 hours. That's like you get paid and, 6 hours is gone. You got 3% of your paycheck saying, well, I really need somebody to help me. It's like, fool, nobody told you to give away all your money to everybody else, right? Or whatever. Jagad, are good. I'm a jacking name up, but how you doing, Ja? So JFK went against the mafia and the mob that made them their family rich. That's what I heard as well, because Daddy was damn going to some stuff.
Yeah, well, I think they sent a message, but again, you got to be gangster. It's big business. So when Kennedy and them let Castro shut down Havana, that's when all that stuff started kicking off with them getting rid of Kennedy, because Havana was supposed to be, Cuba was supposed to be the mafia's playground, like Las Vegas is, whatever. And, Kennedy shut all that down, and that's when all that kind of stuff started happening toward him.
Oh, yeah, he was definitely shiesty for sure. Sammy, how you doing? Says, we have a problem. We practice individualism. We have a problem trusting each other. We really have the mentality of crabs in a barrel. We need to pull our money together and stop competing with one another. Absolutely. And I'm actually going to be speaking about a little bit more about that at the Ohio Black Expo this coming Saturday. So for those of y'all, and I think we'll record it and things like that. So it's going to be very interesting, but I totally agree with you. But yeah, we're going to have a conversation, but I'll just say here, as I always say, I think sometimes we think too grand when we need to think home based, right? A lot of us don't even have these conversations with our family, our friends that we talk to every day or whatever, right? We are, you'll find, Samuel, that a lot of people will donate to people they don't know over the internet before they help a brother or a sister or auntie or granddaddy, whoever, say, hey, I seen this piece of land over here. Why don't we go on and pool all our money together and get this land? They're going to say, nah, we ain't going to do that. But let somebody get on the internet and say, hey, I need to raise this amount of money. People, cha-ching, this, that, and the other. And you don't have no stake, no ownership, no pink slip, and none of that money you gave, whatever it is, too, right? See, I think like that, like what kind of, I need to be on the deed or something, okay? If I'm giving you some money, I need to be on the deed. I need to be having some benefits other than saying I did it, because damn bragging rights. So we got to start at home first, right? So, yeah, that'll be a deeper conversation on this Saturday. Mark say, plus Luke non-FBA, he's Caribbean, so he can't speak for FBAs. Yeah, that's true. He is Caribbean, and he does try to, right? But he's a flip-flopper. That's what I care more about. You're a flip-flopper. And of course, they don't have the connected history that we do as far as being Black Americans here in America and all of that. So they often, some of them, try to discount our experience here or try to speak for us, right? Sometimes you hear them say, oh, well, they don't need no reparations, and y'all just need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps and blah, 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 blah. And it's like, man, shut up.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, when you hear these people say that stuff, you will find that the minute they came to this country, they're on all the social programs that were meant for us. They're the ones taking advantage of all those programs. Low student loans, this, that. Please, somebody explain to me how a Vietnamese person could come out of the re-education camps at Camp Pendleton and all these military bases when they got flown here. Demetrian, you know this. they would come here and they would get low business loans. I mean, everything they needed to be successful. And now they are taking over the West Coast.
Yeah, that's why I said, Donovan, I'm not in California right now. I plan to be one day, but y'all up against it out there in California, Los Angeles, Karen Bass, I don't think she'll be reelected. I think people are just like, oh, F no, hell to the no. Karen Bass has got a lot going on. She spent most of her term chasing behind, helping illegal immigrants. She delivered for them for sure. But not just Black Americans, but other residents of Los Angeles is like, what the hell? Like, what about us? Whether the situation with the houses being burned down, the water, all that other stuff, right? And she's still kind of just coy about everything, very delusional. Oh, people, this person endorsed me, that person endorsed me. Oh, and by the way, we're gonna talk about your homie yesterday, Corey Jackson. He was at a meeting in Los Angeles, and I'm gonna show y'all the video, and it's like, right. So, Donovan, y'all, I don't know. It's up to y'all. Figure out what to do.
I will be leaving, like I said, my volunteer position there, and I'm going to get into campaign mode, and I will be supporting Ed Delgado wholeheartedly. And I'm going to tell the people the truth, especially the older baby boomer generation, why they should not support Corey Jackson. Because again, what has he done for Black people? He does for does for everything else, just like Karen Bass. And he wants to be in the picture when the reparations thing was being talked about and being studied. But then when it was shot down, or it wasn't even shot down, it wasn't even brought to the floor, he's talking about he ain't got nothing to do with it. Yeah, right.
Oh, yeah, you're going to love this tomorrow. You're absolutely going to love it, I promise. That's Donovan's assembly, when representative. Darinkle, you say they make cars now so you can't work on them. Yeah, that's what my dad said. He said they trying to make it to where the mechanic, with the good training. See, my daddy was one of those mechanics. He says that the mechanics nowadays are lazy, right? Because they only rely on the machine, the OD2
remove and replace. That's all they do. Remove and replace. That's it.
Yeah, he says, but they don't know how to listen for what's going on with the car, or drive it and see what it's doing. Like, I could literally call my daddy over the phone and tell him, we all could tell my dad what the car was doing, and he said, oh, okay, it's that, and it'd be that, right? Because he just knew. But he said these mechanics nowadays, they plug it up and say, like you said, oh, it's this. Okay, well, you need a whole new. Well, my dad is like, he ain't need a whole new nothing. We need to get the go to AutoZone, O'Reilly's. Okay, let's go.
Well, the funny thing is, if you got a Tesla and something breaks on that, you're looking at a minimum of $1,000, no matter what it is. Because again, those batteries, you can forget it. So good luck for you guys that got those Teslas.
And Rodan lives. How you doing? Says, and I saw what you said about Black Americans from the West Coast as a trip. What you mean by that? Because I'm from the West Coast. You say you can teach yourself anything you want to learn online. You don't need to go to school anymore. Yeah, they say YouTube University, right? You can learn almost anything on YouTube. But like I said, in the day and age of Google and YouTube, why are you this ignorant? Not you, but I'm saying in general, people say, I don't know. It's like, you do everything on your phone, but to use it to obtain some knowledge, what are you doing on there? Trolling and shaking behind and posting out online. Like, use your phone to learn something every day. And Tanya, he says, I don't shop with immigrants. Well, it's fair. They don't shop with us either. Pinky says, where I live, Los Angeles County, Black people don't support Black businesses and will get heated with you for mentioning it. Yeah, this video we're going to see tomorrow. Boy, I tell you what, we're going to get into it. But we got to stop that, Pinky. We absolutely do. We got to stop thinking the white man's ice is colder than ours. But see, that's why I say too, like when we hear about all this redistricting, all the Black people got to show up and this, that, the other. I saw somewhere where Don Lemon was talking to Bill Maher, and he was basically saying a Black MAGA, and I'm paraphrasing, Black MAGA supporter is a disgrace and all this other stuff. And then Bill Maher was like, well, I think that's insulting to a lot of Black people, because essentially what you're saying, I'm paraphrasing, is that all Black voters need to be voting for the Democrats. Right now, I'm not part of MAGA or any of that kind of stuff. But to say that black folks should be relegated to the Democratic plantation if they not something wrong with them. That's it's very telling, right?
But isn't it crazy the reaction of the far left? Isn't it the same as the reaction as January 6th of the far right? Isn't it like it's almost the same exact reaction of just lunacy? You're going to go and do something outside of the law to make your point, be it take the president down, do this, do that, whatever you're going to do. But let me ask you this real quick, Demetra. Remember the movie Higher Learning? How many of you guys have seen the movie? John Singleton, Ice Cube, Busta Rhymes, Michael Rappaport, Omar Epps is in it. Great movie, right?
Long time ago.
Right. I would strongly recommend you guys see that movie again. Do you remember the scene? If you went to my Facebook page, I put the clip up. Do you remember the scene where he's talking to the white nationalist and the white nationalist telling him, how do you feel that this country is not your country anymore? How do you feel that, when you go to college, you can't get a job? And then you remember the clip where Remy's in school, he's at his desk and he's looking around during the test and he doesn't see any white people. He sees other people in groups. You guys, I strongly recommend you guys go see that movie again. John Singleton was such a, I can't even describe how he saw the future, because even when you look at Boys in the Hood, he talked about gentrification back when Boys in the Hood was happening. And then Higher Learning, you're seeing what's going on in that movie happening today. Even though it was a white nationalist, I don't know about you guys, but when I walk in my neighborhood, nobody's speaking English. When I go to the stores, they barely speak English. They don't look like me. This is what's happening in America. It's just amazing. So if you guys haven't seen that movie, go revisit it.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of things that are very telling that have happened, as whether it's movies, it's books. Again, told y'all, most of y'all probably already read it, but 1984, a really good book. I mean, almost like he wrote it today, right? So yeah, John Singleton was definitely ahead of his time, especially with that Boys in the Hood when he's talking about gentrification and all of that. That was just like way ahead of his time with the furious Lawrence Fishburne, right? Tyrus, how you doing? Says if 10,000 of us want to put $80 a month in a pool, that's 800,000 a month. See, yeah, we could do that as well, right? We could do that. We could do it on a smaller level at home, because that's what our people used to do. Our people they will see, because like a lot of times we talk about other cultures like Latinos and Asians and all of them living all up in one house. That's what we used to do. We all used to live in one house. Donovan, how many aunties and uncles you got on both sides of your family?
12 on my mom's side, 23, 24 on my dad's side that lived, that stayed lived. There was more births than that. But when we used to come home in the summertime, and I don't know why grandmas do this and the aunties do this. The boys sleep on the floor, the girls could sleep in the bed. That's how it was. And you flip where you're at because it was too many kids. Everybody we found a place to go. I mean, I remember a summer there was just like, man, 3-bedroom little house. There must have been at least 20 something people in that house that summer, all summer long.
There you go. And that was, y'all didn't think, oh, get on me, it's too crowded. And it was just what it was, right? We all spent the night at our grandmama's house. Everybody, like you said, sleeping on the floor, the couch, some in the bed with grandma, the other room, whatever it was, right? It was just normal. But nowadays, I need my own and all of that. Most of us too. And my mom was the only child, but she knew her cousins as her siblings. And even my daughter's cousins, they're really more like her siblings. They like their children. They call her auntie. They don't really call her cousin. They call her auntie. So we got to get back to that.
Oh yeah. Well, the sad thing is today, because we don't want to live with nobody, you got people living in their damn cars. A lot of women are living in the cars. Dawn Robinson, she's living in her car. You're just like, oh my gosh, what is going on here?
Yeah. Yeah, we gotta change that. We really do. We have to stop the foolishness, stop the egotistical, attitudes, and really get a hold of ourselves and our people. We have to. right? Nothing else matters if we don't have a love for our people. And Pinky says we talk and nothing changes, and reparations is not coming. Too many foreigners in our politics. You know what? It's not going to come now. I don't know. Maybe it will. Maybe it won't. It will come, not because I say, but because it's just the way it is. America has not atoned for the original sin of slavery, right? And so it has to do that one way or the other. But we will get it. And you're right. There are a lot of foreigners in our politics. And when you say foreigners, they obviously have to be citizens, but they're a lot of times they're first generation and things like that. And they do, it's just a fact, right? They do change the trajectory of our politics. And that's why you see it's like somewhere in New Orleans, right? Where the mayor, she is a white Latina and she's very pro illegal immigration, right? She's not going to work with ICE, any of that other stuff. But New Orleans is 60% black city. So I've heard a lot of politicians, different people saying that they need to change the laws as far as how deep in generations you have to be to get into politics. Now, yeah, I think you should have, a couple of generations in before you just go jumping into the to politics, because of course you're going to be bringing your attitudes and things like that from where you come from and say, well, hey, I'm here. I want to make it so that my people benefit. And so you do see, that's why I was telling Donovan, I ain't trying to be mean. And Pinky, you in California, I ain't trying to be mean, but if y'all don't get California back, you can kiss it goodbye. That's just a fact. And I saw a guy too on the news. I don't know what he was. He might have been Latino, or maybe not, but nevertheless, he's a resident of Los Angeles. And he says that we're all going out of business here. One lady was like, we're going out of business because of the cost of living, the war, things like that. She says for a carton of tomatoes is $100, a carton of lemons is $60. And then one dude says, and the other thing that they've been doing for a while, especially in Los Angeles, is allowing immigrants to set up their different carts and things like that in front of their businesses. So he's like, how is it that you can set up, let's say you have a taco cart or whatever.
I'm in Tiwon right now. Carts are going up and down my streets.
Yeah, so that's what he says. So he says they allow them to do this. So it's like, huh? Like we got a brick and mortar business where we got to pay all these fees and licenses and all this other stuff. They don't, but yet we're wondering why we're losing a lot of business. I think that's wrong. I don't think you should be able to. All right, fine. If you want to go commandeer a lot somewhere, whatever, but you're gonna sit up in front of my business. See, and that's also on the consumer too. Why would you do that? Why would you go eat from the people who are setting up? You're encroaching, is what you're doing on the advertisement that they've invested in. People who are walking up, maybe going to that restaurant, like, oh, well, what you got? I got some tacos, and then you don't go into the restaurant.
And those people on the carts, they're not necessarily paying the taxes that goes back to the city, like the brick and mortar buildings are. A lot of these guys, they pay their little peddler's permit, and everything is cash money.
Yeah. And Tony, how you doing? And Aaron, what's going on with you? Says the school, the prison, pipeline, collateral damages of jobs that disappear from society. Many states with convict leasing from low to high skilled labor extracted from society. Yeah, and that still goes on. I don't know if people realize that, especially in places in the South. We've seen a lot of reports, basically inmates being leased out, right? And hardly getting paid. It's just awful. It is just God awful. But, that's why it also pays to, Brother Aaron, I know you know this, is for us to know the laws and know what we're dealing with. Know that yes, slavery is abolished except for imprisonment, and imprisonment is the new slavery. You can best believe that. So, yeah.
And backed up by the Constitution. But here's my question, Demetra. The Democrats are freaking out of this redistricting, and their answer is to vote. Question. I don't know if you saw it on my page. What is voting going to do to change the Supreme Court decision? What's voting going to do to change that? Exactly. Absolutely nothing. It takes legislation to change the Supreme Court ruling. And if you went to my page, you guys that follow me, if you went to my page, I broke down how that works. You have to legislate the Supreme Court thing. In 2013, John Roberts, when they started the assault on the Voting Rights Act, he told the legislative branch how to fix it and how to write it correctly, get the race out of it and all this other stuff. So since 2013, the Democrats sat on their hands and did absolutely nothing. So ask yourself this: if you've got these Democrats and whoever else telling you, oh, we got to register people to vote, that is not going to change the Supreme Court decision. They have to either amend the law that is at hand, as Roberts told them, or write a new law. That is the only way you're going to change it. So voting, making you vote and getting all these people registered is not going to change it. They're just worried about their seats, and they want to, in these new districts, they want to get back in power to do absolutely nothing. Just remember that.
And at the end of the day, you can still vote. Okay, they ain't nobody say you couldn't vote, but that's kind of how they're framing it. Oh, your voting is in there. Pretty soon you're gonna be back on the plantation. It's like Pinky said, more Latinos here than us. Than us, rather, than Karen Bass has a good chance of winning. Yeah, and that's only if they're legally able to vote, but you got to pay attention. I know you're paying attention, Pinky. There's a, let me see if I can find it real quick. It's somewhere. Try to find it, because, you know, sometimes people be thinking I be making stuff up, and I really don't. I'm trying to find it for you. Is this it? Here we go. Y'all pay attention. Here we go.
That we have folks living in this country who've been here 20 years, they've started a family, they pay their taxes, many of them are homeowners, but they don't have a say over the policies that affect their children and their families on any given day. The motion only asks to seek to explore whether we want to head in that direction. I think the details of who's going to be involved, how we're going to do it, all that needs to get sussed out.
So what he's talking about is giving illegal immigrants the right to vote in Los Angeles, right? So like I said, and Pinky, I know you're paying attention. So that's the conversation. I don't know if you saw the mayoral debate that they had, and the moderator asked all three of them, what do you feel about what I just showed you, right? He says there's a city council. He sits on the city council, Hugo Soto Garcia. He sits on the city council there in Los Angeles. He says, what do you feel about him wanting illegal immigrants to have the right to vote? Karen Bass is like, and he says, it's a yes or no question. I answer, do you think they should be able to vote? She goes, well, it's not a yes or no. It's a and then the other lady, what's her name? Councilwoman Raman, I think that's her name. She's like, oh, I agree. It's not a yes or a no. It's a and Spencer was like, no, they should not be able to vote. They're not legally here, right? So that they're having that conversation, what exactly do you want them to be able to vote on? Do you want them to be able to have a say-so over who becomes the next mayor? Because with something like that, yeah. But as it stands now, I don't know.
See, and the thing is, they use that talking point based on DC. The DC area allows non-citizens to vote. But remember, DC is a special district area, so it's not a state. And if you guys been paying attention, Kamala Harris is talking about expanding this, and all these, all these great ideas she had. And it's funny because she's talking about expanding the Supreme Court, right? That's one of her ideas. When they get back in power, they're going to expand the Supreme Court. There was a Republican senator that said, why don't you just do it right now? Oh, they don't want to do it right now because the Republicans are in power. See, isn't it funny? She doesn't want to do it right now. But here's the thing with Kamala Harris. So she wants to do that. And she also wants to give voting rights or make DC, Puerto Rico a state. Why do you just want to make those a state? Okay, if you're talking about those two territories, what about the U.S. Virgin Islands? What about Guam? Why aren't you talking about those areas? See, she wants those two states because they lean heavily liberal. These people do not care about Black or the American people's issues. They care about power. Just remember that. Because how do you talk about Puerto Rico and D.C. and leave out Guam and the U.S. Virgin Islands?
Totally. Almighty Black One, he says, just because you're mad at the Democrats over messing you around, please don't freely give your votes to the Republicans without making demand. I'm not saying you should give your votes to the Republicans at all. I'm saying what I'm basically saying about this whole voting rights thing. Are the Republicans doing some racism? Absolutely, they're being racist. And I think to argue whether they are or not is silly. But my thing is not a Democrat misleadership. They got to work for the vote. No longer are you going to be resting on pretty, because this district is roped off, it automatically belongs to me because you say not to give your votes to the Republicans, but you're okay with giving it to the Democrats who absolutely do nothing for you, practice benign neglect, and you watch them in your face. Hold on, I got something else for you. Go ahead, Donovan. I'm going to pull it up. I got something else for you. This is the kind of stuff that they do. Let's see. I'm trying to find it.
You know, it's kind of crazy that, you know, they do all of this stuff. And then, you know, here's the funny thing, you guys, and I'm sure you guys get this too. You know, we talk and we're telling people, vote your interests, whatever that is. I don't care how you vote, just be an informed voter. But when you talk to a Democrat, liberal, hardcore, whatever they are, for some reason, they hear you're telling people to vote Republican. I had to tell somebody on my chat, on my podcast, excuse my language, you're a damn lie. Why would I tell somebody to vote Republican and I'm not a Republican? That doesn't make any sense. But it seems like all they hear is, oh, you mean vote for Republicans? No, that ain't what we're saying. We're saying be an informed voter.
Absolutely. And I got something for you, Mighty Black One. This is a shorter version of it, but I'll explain it in its entirety. Zachariah, thank you so much for the donation. Love and appreciate you for that. But here we go.
We also need offensive actions around prosecutions. We need real accountability, because at the end of the day, the people that have been inflicting this harm need to be prosecuted. They need to be brought before us, and they need to be held account for the trauma that they have created, and we are going to have some form of reparation.
Okay. Now, for the fuller context, I have the longer video if you want to see it, but I'll explain it to you because I played it probably 20 times at this point. But basically what she's saying is, and this is a Democrat, Mighty Black One, she's saying that when they get the gavel back in their hands, this is her words, not mine, when they get the gavel back, they being the Democrats, they're going to try to make sure that illegal immigrants get reparations for the harm that has been exacted upon them by the Trump administration and ICE. So when you ask or you say, don't freely give your vote to the Republican, I agree with that, but are we okay with freely giving our votes to the Democrats? And they talk about giving illegal immigrants reparations when we are one of the triple OGs of the oppression here in America, along with the indigenous people. We have not gotten our reparations check, our 40 acres and a mule, no brand new socks or drawers, none of that. We haven't gotten any of that other stuff, but then we're saying, okay, well, let's continue vote for the Democrats for why, might I ask? Why would we continue to vote for the Democrats and they sit up here? Listen, like I said, I'm going to coin this the greatest hits. Okay, I got them on deck like a DJ. I got the Democrats' greatest hits of benign neglect, right? I'm going to call it the greatest hits of benign neglect of the Democratic Party, Volume 1. So I'm just asking, is that what we continue to give our vote to?
Yeah, and you know, also don't feel sorry for these Indian tribes, because they have treaties that are still standing with the United States. Look at these people. They're buying basketball teams, football teams, casinos. These people have been given reparations and specific tangibles under the United States guise to where every member of a tribe gets a check. As a matter of fact, the Department of the Interior, their Bureau of Indian Affairs, still exists today. The Indian Bureau of Affairs was formed after the Freedmen's Bureau. So why did ours go away and theirs ended up staying? And look at what their young lawyers did. Now, let's be real. Up until the 1970s, the United States was neglecting them until those young lawyers started taking those treaties, a legal document, and going to the Supreme Court and pressing the United States to do what they said according to those treaties, and got compensation for unjust treatment and interest in things that were supposed to be done. That is why the Indian Affairs Bureau still exists. But the question you need to ask yourself as a freed Black man and a Black woman is, how come the Freedmen's Bureau that was formed before that was abolished?
And when Kamala was talking about that, she said Black and brown. She said Black and brown for the Freedmen's Bureau. It's like, excuse me, say what? But yeah, to your point, but I was just making a point that, what happened to the indigenous, I'm not, referencing what they have gotten thus far, right? But what happened to them along with Black Americans, or our ancestors, that's why I was referencing that. But Dearness, how you doing? He says, it's disturbing to me what Democrats do in the face of Black people. Some of us are walking zombies. They give resources to illegals from housing, loans, healthcare, cell phones, food, and more. And yet we talking about, we got to continue to vote for that. And I just want to know why. Why would you continue to vote for something or someone that has proven to you that I'm not about the business of you? You can vote for me. I need you to vote for me. In fact, if you don't vote for me, I'm a done deal, which is what this redistricting is about. I know they're telling you it's about you as the people, the voter. Listen, if they cared about you as the voter, the district that you live in, would not be dilapidated and devoid of everything that you need, right? They're worried about their own black jobs. That's all they care about. They have not been having to get it out the mud. He's here, Al Green, right? Here in Texas. He's going up against the kid. I call him the kid, Christian Menifee, right? He's a kid to me, but he's going up against him. And now ask yourself, do you think that Al Green has had to work this hard in the past few years? Hell no. Because he knew, because his district is gone, right? Through this redistricting shenanigans they got going on. His district is gone. And so now he's like, ooh, I got to get out there to actively campaign. Now he probably ain't did that since he got in there. So what I'm saying is, and I know it's not just the black ones, but since they're making it a big deal about the black district, so they get in there and they stay in there and they continue with the benign neglect. Oh, show up to the fish fry. You want a water bottle? How about some turkey? Right? And then when it comes down to doing something for you, well, we gonna wait and see. But now everybody in their goddamn mama is marching and talking about we shall overcome, right? They wasn't even singing that for us no more. They started singing that for the ice raids and stuff. But now all of a sudden that this redistricting stuff is going on, they talking about black folks, you're in danger. You need to show up to vote. It's like, listen, sucker, I can still vote. Me going to show up to vote for you. That's what's in question. That's the part they won't say out loud, Donovan.
And real quick, I got a question for you. The lying liberal, Malcolm X warned us about this, whatever. Anna Kasparian. I like Anna Kasparian. I like the Young Turks. That's where I kind of got my idea to start our show many, many years ago. They influenced me to do that. She recently came out. Now, this is a person who's basically a left leaning person. And she said she's tired of race. She said she's tired of talking about it. She's tired of doing it. But this is what the liberals do. These white liberals or the Democratic Party in general that are liberals, whatever, they play this game until you say, well, what, you don't live the black experience, but now you're tired of doing, the liberal thing. And Malcolm X warned us about that. So what is your I don't know if you saw it, but what is your take on her saying that she's done with race? Basically, she said she's done with race, even though, race isn't everything, but that's easy to say when you're of the dominant class. So I don't know if you saw it, but what do you think about another liberal now just saying, I'm done with all that?
Anna Kasparian, so she sits on the Young Turks, which ain't, I thought she was independent. I thought they were independent, as I know they were Bernie-crats in a sense. Well, if she says she's tired of race, I don't know. I have to look at the quote myself because a lot of times things are quoted and it's like, oh, okay, well, what really meant was said. It was more to a type of thing. But if that's what she said, yeah, she can afford to be tired of race. I think a lot of people who don't struggle like Black Americans do because of racism, it's easy for them to say that. Hell, I say I'm tired of it too. I'd love to get to a day where we don't have to talk about it, right? Or if we do talk about it, it's actually something that's going to benefit us. But talking about black districts and black votes and this, that, and the other, and they're taking away black representation. Like I always tell people, ask what the black representation was doing for you, that you would want to show up and keep them. Because if you were benefiting from that black representation or misrepresentation, you would have your ass out there and vote, wouldn't you? Just like they was giving away some retro George. You be out there for the new PlayStation or whatever it is they playing. You be out there, right? Because it's untangible. If you knew that your black politician was actually bringing home the turkey bacon, right, and doing things for you, and you like, wow, I'm so happy that they're my representative. Look, they're doing this, they're doing that. I feel, seen. I feel my neighborhood. If you had that, then yeah, you'd be like, yeah, I'm a march and fight. But a lot of black people in those districts is like, well, I wouldn't know what the difference is if I lost the black representative because they don't do anything for us anyway, right? So the other thing is, well, as I did a video on African Diaspora News Channel, what if the Republicans did a good job? And that's what the black Democrats are afraid of. If they lose that position, then the Republicans, I'm not saying they're going to give us reparations, right? But if they got in there and I said, tamp down the crime and all these other things, that basic stuff, then the black residents is like, well, damn, we've been electing this person for 30, 40 years, and they've been telling us no. And here they come, and they did ABC. So, there's a lot to it. But yeah, you can be tired of race, but whatever. Pam is jamming. How you doing? Hope you're doing well. Pastor Phyllis says the reason why the likes in the room is so low is because there are dozens of not if not 100 government agents in this room keeping an eye on what Black people are doing and learning. Well, hopefully they, learn something interesting. That don't really bother me. We ain't saying nothing wrong, right? So I hope they taking notes, learning something, or whatever it is. Rodani says Latinos are ruthless when it comes to dealing with Blacks. Don't eat behind those people. Listen, you ain't got to tell me twice. You ain't got to tell me one time. It's not even just Jim, it's anybody. I really don't like eating out at all. I did a video on my channel about them people in Boston. The McDonald's manager, she put a whole bunch of fries in her mouth and then put them back into the cart and then served it to somebody allegedly, right? She did. She put on and then put them back into the cart. Talking about they want hot fries, or something like that. And it's like, see, when I see videos like that, I'm like, yep, you stay yourself at home. Okay. If you got to mash 2 pieces of bread together, make you a jam sandwich, that's what you're gonna be eating. Okay.
Yes, I long for the days of that government cheese, Just cut that big old board,
and call it a day, all right? Okay, ain't nobody gonna be licking on your government cheese. Hey, easy.
Hey, I know we still got to get to the comments, but before we get out of here, Demetra, I've been noticing a rash of your videos showing up on other channels like BH Hip Hop Detroit, that one brother up there in Detroit. He put some really good information out on you. And I mean, you've been burning it up on the airways. I'm not trying to gaslight you or anything. I'm just letting you know, I see them using your videos and your message and getting out there. And I got to give you big ups because you've come a long way in this game. And it's a game changer. I mean, really, being the voice that you are and the common sense of what you're saying, it really has educated and woke a lot of people up. So keep up the good work.
I appreciate that. I don't always see a lot of that stuff, but and much love and respect to people who share it. And it's not just me, Donovan. I mean, hell, we've been sitting in the seat the same amount of time. You know what I mean? So we both been there and been waking people up, and y'all too in the comment section. We learn a lot from y'all and giving people hell for a very long time. That's why I say we're not new to this. We true to this. You know what I mean? So yeah, that guy from Texas, how you doing? Says I believe Don Robinson lives in her car by choice. That's what they say, but man, listen.
Nobody lives in their car by choice. If you believe that, she lost her house. That is a fact. That is a public record. She doesn't want to live with her parents because of the rules and stuff. The parents don't, get along. And that's just not her. That's a lot of Black women. They don't want to live under other people's rules, and they choose to live in their cars. That's what's happening. They would rather get their hair done or get the BBL or whatever they're doing than live in a house. Demetra, how many stories of these women in Atlanta and all these other places living in U-Hauls? They're renting U-Hauls to go to the different conventions and stuff, and they're renting those things out. But their hairs did.
I'm gonna tell you one thing. I've sat in a hot car before just because I didn't want to go in the store or whatever. I was like, God dang, it's hot up in here. And sometimes I imagine what would it be like, right, to live in a car. Of course, y'all know that in Houston, the weather does what it wants to do. And sometimes the lights go out. 2 years ago, lights went out one time for 3 days at a time. And then it went out in July for 5 days, right? Hotels is all booked up. And even some of them didn't have no electricity. It's a lot, right? So during the day, we kind of toughed it out. Mind you, it was July in Houston, toughed it out. And then at night, we tried to tough it out. So we slept in the house couple of days or whatever. There's no use of opening the window because you're just letting in hot air. So I was like, hey, bump all that. Get your blanket and your pillow, okay? And we went. My daughter has a hybrid car. So we let down her things because you can lay it down. We put pillows and blankets in there and just let the air on. I was like, ah. But even then, right, I'm like, we're sleeping in a car. But I couldn't imagine doing that because, when you get older, sometimes you got to go to the restroom a couple times a night. Okay. And so I'm like, man, if I had to go to the restroom, like, how does that work? So I always say, God, there, but for the grace of God, there go I, that I do not. And I've never had to sleep in a car because I had nowhere else to go. So my heart goes out to anybody who does. And so I agree with Donovan. I don't know how much of a choice. There's some people who may be like, hey, it is what it is. I think that's probably rare though. Right. I'm sweating even thinking about sleeping in a hot house. Like Houston get on my nerves. Anyway, let's see. Corey says poor New Orleans with that mayor. Well, 30. Well, how can I say this? 30% of the black voters there voted for her, but a lot of them didn't want her. Okay, she had the Democratic machine behind her. So that begs the question. Do they want a Democrat or do they want a black Democrat? When I say they, I mean the Democratic machine. What's going on? That white lady, she's a white Latina, right? But she got a white man. She ain't finna be doing nothing for them Negroes in Louisiana. She talk a good game. She got a whole big black staff, and they all helped her with a campaign. Man, she gonna drop them like a hot ass potato. You could best believe that. Angela, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Enlighten says, I'm paying attention to our immigration policy, politicians and not going to vote for them. Yeah, I mean, I think it definitely some people should pay attention to, because look how they walk and they talk. Illegal immigration, all my people. Oh, we need to abolish ICE and all this other stuff they be having going on. It's like, what about the people? What about the residents that actually voted for you? Do they get a say so in any of this? Do you want to show up to the table and talk about them at all? Like,
yeah, did you hear about the residents in LA when they're talking about building these tiny home areas? The question is now, Dimitri, you're from California. LA doesn't have much room to expand or move. It's pretty much built out. So where are you going to put these homeless people? Now, somebody who lives in LA County who's paying $3,000, $3,500 for a studio apartment, or you got $1 million shack in Costa Mesa, Orange County, I don't think you want a homeless encampment sponsored by the city or the government right next to your property. So they're arguing that right now. And I woke up this morning, that was an issue there. But these are the issues that the Democrats are pushing, which is, again, making other Democrats that live here really mad against the Democratic machine here in California.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. But I think there should be something done to help the homeless, because you're spending all that money for everything and everybody else. It sounds like they lost some homeless people and lost some money came up missing. It's California is a hot ass mess. I mean, I'm a California born and raised, right? And like when I go back, because all my family is there, I'm just like, what is this place? You know what I mean? And they should help homeless people. Homeless people should get help before illegal immigrants. It's just, I don't know why that's even an argument, right? And then of course,
you didn't hear Karen Bass says they gotta brush their teeth. That's going to be that's her solution that she actually said.
And so somebody getting them dentures or something like that.
Yeah, getting them dentures and teeth. That's her thing. Because remember, she had jacked up teeth at one time. And look how she's aspired.
You know what? Don't do her. Easy says, the Democrats allow MAGA to stack the course with these Federalist society and carrying judges when they control both House and Senate. Yeah, and again, Obama, who in a sense was like a wet noodle, who allowed Mitch McConnell to punk him and not going ahead and selecting a Supreme Court justice. He wanted to play by the rules per se. Well, yeah, you're right. It's too close for another election. We're going to wait. And Trump said, shit, I got 38 days. I'm going to get Amy in here and I'm going to stack the course until I can't stack them no more.
I don't think that was like something that, I think that was by design. Again, how many times I tell you guys, good cop, bad cop. These guys are working together. And I've been in politics long enough to know that both parties don't really do for Black people at all. Reason why we come on the Democrats so damn hard, because we give most of our vote to the Democrats. But when Obama did that, now remember, he was a constitutional teacher, professor or something like that. So he knew constitutional law, and he knew that that's a power that he had. And for him to just let Mitch McConnell take that from him and now put Black people in such a precarious position in regards to the Constitution, I think that was done intentionally and by design. They are working together. You get power for a little while, then we'll take power for a little while. Okay, you do this, and then we'll do that. You take the blame here, then we'll take it next time. This is all a game. Do us a favor, hit that like button, you guys. It's absolutely free.
Yeah, and Dance Rody, I hope I said that right. How you doing? Says I keep hearing Well, actually, I'll go back to your other part of your question here. You say, wouldn't Republicans still need 38 states to ratify any constitutional amendment, even with the convention of states? And then here, I'll say, says, I keep hearing that the Republicans could rewrite the Constitution if they get enough power, but how would that happen when any amendment still needs 38 states to approve it?
Any legislator can rewrite the Constitution. Then they have to vote on it under the, they got to get 3/8, whatever their number is. But that's their job, to write the law. See, people get it confused. The Supreme Court's job is to interpret the law versus the Constitution. Is it contrary to the Constitution? That's all the Supreme Court does. They can write any law they want, and the Supreme Court interprets it if it's constitutional or not. That's that's the thing. They depend on people getting it confused. Legislators legislate. Their job is to write laws. Like right now, if I was a legislator, I would be writing prostitution should be free, strip clubs in residential areas. I can write anything I want. The key is, once I get it passed, is it constitutional? Then the Supreme Court steps in and takes a look at it if somebody challenges it. But as far as rewriting the Constitution, anybody could do it. So ask yourself, why hasn't the Democrats shown Black people the legislation that they've been working on for 60 years? Because they haven't done any.
There you go. Donovan knows his stuff. And that is what he does, okay? And I see I'm so far behind. Clarence, how you doing? Says, what about the Freeman banks that they robbed? Yeah, there's a whole lot to discuss, right? Georgette, what's going on? It says FBA. I want to make sure I acknowledge everybody. Did not realize I was so far behind. Clarence, you also say I can't stand the Democrats. Well, they can't stand you either. Big Hair says Democrats are silent on Chud. You know what? That was actually going to be my topic today, but I was like, you know what? I don't give a damn about no Chud, the doggone builder. But you know what? You and I are on the same page. I ain't heard not one of them get on a funky soapbox and say anything about Chud the builder. For those of y'all who do not know who Chud the builder is, he's some white dude. I think he's about 30. He looks older, right? He has this big old handlebar mustache, and he walks around with this cowboy hat on in Tennessee, and he goes around messing with Black folks, calling them the hard ER, right? And talking about it's my constitutional right and all these other things. And if they try to run up on him, then he puts his hand on his weapon and stuff like that. Now, he's gotten arrested over the last couple of weeks or whatever for things here and there. But this particular time, he got arrested for attempted murder because he actually ended up shooting a Black man after he started the stuff with him. And he shot that Black man several times, and then he ended up shooting himself, okay? And so when he went to court and everything on Friday, the judge was like, yeah, homie, your bail is $1.25 million, right? And he went like he was in shock, right? He thought he was going to get out. So he's got all this go give sin, or whatever it is, like a GoFundMe type of thing. And they've raised what they would say is the 10%. It sounds like it's a little bit more involved. But the DA was like, we don't want that. We don't want that money from that. We need you to get it out the mud, homie. So yeah, he's got charged with attempted murder. But to that, imagine if he were Black or anything else, and he was out in the middle of town talking about, everybody else's community, man. These Democrats, imagine if he was doing that to the illegal immigrants. These Democrats would have been on every social media platform you can think of. It's not right. Look at them. But I said, me and my daughter's been talking about this. Black Americans are the only group of people that will watch a white supremacist racist go out into the middle of the public square on his phone, streaming for all of his viewers, and call Black people the hard ER, and nobody bats an eye. It's freedom of speech. But like I said, you couldn't go out and call nobody else's community and don't say in the comments, but any derogatory things and get away with it. You say it one time before you in the clink, right? JD Vance, everybody else, all them be tweeting about how horrible it is and all those other things. But Black Americans are the only people you can do that to. The Republicans didn't say nothing about it. The Democrats didn't say nothing about it either. You know who said something about it? Was the law in Tennessee. But I said this, and I'm going to say it again. And I've been telling my daughter this about Chud the Builder, okay? One thing, see, I study prison culture and things like that to a degree. One thing I'm gonna say about Chud the Builder is I believe that if he does go inside, like for real, I believe the people who look like him gonna be like, hey, y'all can have him. Do what you need to do with him, right? And I believe that the system is gonna come down on him like a ton of bricks because we like our racism covert. You out there, being cheap with it, right? With the hard ER, doing it for, salacious reasons, and you making us look bad, right? We don't even wear the robe no more like that, but you out there trying to put the robe on, you making us look bad. So I think they're gonna make an example out of him. If you're gonna do it the old school way, right? Where what you doing is a you thing. That ain't for white people, that's for you. So I firmly believe they're gonna make an example out of him. And God forbid he go to the big house. Oh yeah, he gonna be Chud to something. Chud the stud is what he gonna be. Mark my words. Because they're like my mom used to always say, there's honor among thieves type of thing. So it's like even in the penitentiary and even in racist circles, they have a code. Like, yo, are they hard ER? And I'm saying if I'm like the Triple K Club, are they the hard ER to me? Yeah, they the hard ER, but we don't need you out there doing all that. You bringing us attention we don't want. So I trust me, they're gonna put him on line with the G-string, fishnet, black pantyhose, legs show through the holes. Watch. Mark my words. I'm not wrong about these things. Georgette, he says we can still vote Democrat or Republican. Yeah, ain't nobody telling you can't vote. That's the Democrats lying. You can vote. You can vote for them still. You can vote for, if you can write it, you can vote for Kermit the Frog if you want to. You can still vote. But see, they trying to write it up because they know most people ain't going to do the research and say, wait a minute now. Can I vote? Or is it they're just taking the districts? Oh, well, you can vote. Oh, then what are we trying? What are you freaking me out for? What is this about? You know what I mean? The guy from Texas says, keep hope alive, Barack Obama. Well, that was actually Jesse Jackson, but Obama said, you got to hope and change. You got to hope and change. You got to hope that I'm going to change my mind, okay, and actually do something for you. I'm not, but yeah. Sister Shirley said, I got a call today from the Democrat Party and was asked what Democrat was I planning on voting for. I told them to get the illegals to vote for him and click, right? What you asking me for? Yeah, they better not call me. They better not call me. I'm like, well, how much time do you have? Okay. Aaron says these liberal white people just want to use race for campaigning. Other than that, they don't give a F about Black Americans. They don't. They need, Albie Chill, get yours, okay? But they just need the white liberals. They need Black people out there, to do what they can't do. They just don't have the that we got, right? Even when we protest, we got some seasoning on it, right? We put some funk on it. They get out there, we shall overcome. And it's like, it sounds like I drank a cup of mayonnaise.
It's a lot of harmony in there.
Yeah, right. It's like, go home. Go home, Becky. Go home, Bob. You don't want these problems, okay? Y'all ain't even doing it right, School. All right, and Cynthia says, Miss Jackson flips, Chicago flips. Red says, hello, we are working on our transportation. I cannot wait to see you all. Met them last year at the Ohio Black Expo. So fabulous. So I cannot wait to see y'all. It's going to be a blast. I tell you that. Tell us.
Yes, and I will say this: Donovan will be accompanying next year or the next project that we're going on. So I will be on the road as well.
Yeah. And I'm planning on coming to California too, so we can get out there and talk and walk with the people. Election season going on, so I'm working on the time frame, and I'm gonna bring my sister with me and my daughter. Yes, we're gonna be out there, and we got a lot of things planned. I got to try to get some stories. Scoop says we are alone. Name a time in America that we never had nowhere to run but to each other. Absolutely, and we gonna be all right. Many like a leak. I know Jackson Morton. How you doing? Says Joe. What did Joe Biden do? I know he endorsed Karen. He endorsed somebody recently. I can't remember who it was. It was recent. Pinky says, I saw a news story recently. A Mexican restaurant industrial oven cleaner was poured into a margarita and served to a customer. She passed 2 years later. Get somebody else to do it. I'm not. Aaron says, Sister D has the workout and much appreciated voice for our people. Oh, yeah, it's my pleasure. Most of the time, it's my pleasure. I appreciate it. Thank you, Donovan, for that and the salutation. I appreciate that. Tito, how you doing? Let's see, Silos, what's going on with you? He says, I got a Hispanic guy who owes me $2,900 for insurance estimates. I wrote estimates for him over a year ago. The sudden refusal to pay is a bad look within the culture of exclusion. We keep saying that's horrible. I hope we pay you. If not, take him to court, right? Slow mate, what's going on? Says very uncomfortable situation. Zachariah says, I agree with Louisiana Latino mayor is going to pull a Barack Obama. Oh, yeah. And they probably, if she doesn't perform, just get her out of there. Get to the polls and get her on out of there. But she says, I'm not going to leave, let's say, New Orleans East behind. I'm a special. All right, lady. Whatever, lady. That would have been me, right? J-Mo, you crazy. Like I said, I ain't in the business of calling ICE. Y'all could call ICE if y'all. I ain't going to be calling no ICE. Like I said, it's still F the police, okay? It's still F the police, whether it's ICE, whatever it is. I think they all have a job to do. But I'm never gonna be rocking with the police on no degree. I just know where them people at. I saw, like I said, in Los Angeles, a restaurant owner, Latino. He been here for decades. One of his employees called ICE on him, and they get ready to deport him. And everybody talking about, oh, he's such a good man. He's an upstanding man in the community. I'm like, how the hell you been here for over 30 years and you didn't become a citizen? You got a restaurant and everything, and you sound like you screwed over one of your employees because they said, doo. Hello, ICE. I got one for you. So, yeah, that's all. I don't need to do it, right? Mr. 100 all day. How you doing? Say he's right. Democrats and Republicans are the left and arm and right arm of white supremacy, a whole body of tyranny. Absolutely. Adi Hetty, what's going on? Says CIA plant. Okay. Just skipping down. Nirvana, my favorite person in the whole world. How you doing? You say, did Obama or Trump get sued for hiring illegals to build Trump Tower and then discriminating by choosing to hire immigrants for his Mar-a-Lago hotel over qualified American applicants? Take it away, Donovan.
No, they did not, because again, Democrats and Republicans take care of each other. There's two sub parties, but there's one party overall. It's called the ruling party. Has the Epstein files been released under Joe Biden in 4 years that Joe Biden had the opportunity to release them? No. Did Trump release the Epstein files in the time that he did? Partially. Did the Democrats just now vote down to publicly release their discipline records within Congress of those that might be charged with crimes and stuff like that? No. Both of these parties work together. They have you and I playing Dallas Cowboys versus the New England Patriots. America's team versus the Patriots, the greatest team ever, whatever. And we fall into that category. So every time you bring up a Democrat or Republican, you're bringing up the same exact people. Are they both not owned by AIPAC? Are they both not corporate donations? I think they are.
And then once again, Rhonda says FBAs don't mind talking mess to everyone except the big, scary, racist white man they're so afraid of. I don't know who you talking about, okay? Like I said, I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I don't bite my tongue for nobody at all. So I don't know exactly who you are referencing, but okay. Prometheus, he says, where's the Nazi point? What? Point them out. I think I know what you're saying, but maybe I don't. Chutter the Bob is crazy. Yeah, he didn't like hearing that, boy. When they told him $1.25 million bail, he closed his eyes so hard I didn't think he was gonna be able to open them back up. It's like, what? You think that's what you could do? Just run around town and calling people, the hard ER, and then when they step to you or whatever, they want to try to touch your weapon. Then he was lying, talking about, he basically saying he attacked me first. But then the video was like, man, why is you lying? That man was minding his business. And you went all up with the foolishness. And then, got into it and then you shot him, and but then he was just lying. Cause I'm like, you ain't getting no over $1 million bail because you're the victim. The video said different, right? So now he's in there. Sounds like got another court date on the 26th. That man ain't trying to be in there, right? He watching his back and his front. Lisa, she say, why can't we go on our own because these people don't like us? We should be going on our own, right? We've been told to go on your own, not be mighty nation, accomplish what you will, do for self, practice group economics. So we can do that. We just got to get back in that frame of mind. That's why I know people think that I'm MAGA. They've never seen me with a MAGA hat on or any of that kind of stuff. But I'm like, listen, that's right. Listen to Black media. Should we vote? Yeah, it's important in some things, but should we rely on any of those parties? No. We are all we need. Those parties are in part here, whether you're the Republican or the Democrat, due to, the backs of Black folks from the plantation and even then some. So Black Americans, like I said, we just need to start believing in ourselves again. Stop listening to the noise about you ain't this and you ain't that. Because like I said, I don't let them people define me. I don't listen to them people about who I am. I know who I am. See, we got to know who we are as Black people. When we get to know that, and especially know our history here in America, then we walk a little tall and we hold our head up and we have a sense of pride. We got to get back to that. But when you get a sense of pride, I agree with you, Lisa. Why? Well, let's stop having this conversation about the white man, the Republicans and Democrats. Let's talk about the Black man, which is the greatest man on earth. Okay, that's what we need to start talking about and start, really pouring into ourselves. Earth Angel, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Let's see. You say Prometheus, the only segregated prison is in California, frauds. Well, there is segregated. It's definitely segregated between the Blacks and Latinos and the whites and things like that. It's kind of like that everywhere, but California is probably among the worst. And most definitely very.
I think Rikers Island is probably the worst.
Well, I don't know. I haven't been in like an inmate in any of them. I heard Angola's probably top tier as far as being the worst of the worst. I've been to some of the prisons here in Texas. Y'all know I work with people for a whole host of reasons. And those prisons look like plantations. When I'm going, right, you got to go through all the protocol, checking in and all that. And then sometimes they're on a yard and it looks like a plantation. To me, it does. And it brings me great sadness, really, to see any human in that situation. I know a lot of them have done things that they deserve to be there. But when I see people in that situation, it's very heartbreaking to see that. And when I leave there, I just, it's hard to shake the image of seeing people in that condition. And that's another thing too. We have to educate our people, especially our young boys who run in these streets and this, that, and the other. We got to really be clear with them, have these conversations with them, because as Monique said, when she would do her tours in prison to the women's prison, she says, we're all one bad decision away from being in here. And that's the message we really got to preach to ourselves and our children. Right now, you're hearing about all these teen takeovers and things like that. And here in Houston, you can't even get into the mall unless you're 21. When my daughter I was walking out last week, a kid was trying to walk in and police was like, do you have an ID? Are you 18 or 21? He says, no. And he says, well, you basically can't come in here. Because they're like, y'all not going to be running roughshod all up and through here because for fun, And
then you also got to understand malls are private owned. They're privately owned. It's private property. Depending on what the circumstances are with your city, but most malls are privately owned. So they can trespass anybody they want. They can get their own security. They can establish their own rules. If you go into a mall, there is a rule book or whatever that you can read within the mall. It's usually at the office or it's probably displayed as you walk in. But a code of conduct or while you're supposed to be in there. But see, that's what I'm saying. We take for granted the rights that we think we know, and we really don't know that at all.
Yeah, it's about education, educating your children. Because like I said, it's very sad. Y'all know I'm a jack of all trades. Hey, Brother Samuel, how you doing? I hope you're doing well today. I made it to the bottom. If I skipped somebody, please forgive me. y'all know, just before we get out of here, I am and was a jack of all trades. So at one particular time, I worked at the prison for kids, right? Not juvenile hall. This is CYA, California Youth Authority. This is the actual prison. I worked in there briefly on the night shift. Believe it or not, okay, I was cleaning the hospital rooms and stuff like that. And so when be in there, I feel so bad for them. I would, right? So one time, and I think I talked about this once before, I had a conversation with one of the nurses. And I said, God, I feel so bad for them. They said, some of them just kids, they're not even 18. She said, don't feel bad for them. She said, we got some of these kids in here for triple 187s, okay? Triple 187s up in here. She told me about different ones. One person, and this was actually on the radio. I was a debate at the time. He was he could parole out. Now, he had been in there since he was a kid, but he did something so heinous to a 3-year-old. I won't repeat here, but she says, but so the debate is whether they're going to let him out, because in a sense he was tried as a kid and he's about to be an adult, right? But she says that even when they are talking to him about what happened, they have labeled him a sadomasochist, and that even when he's telling the story, it's almost like he's getting off on recounting what he did. So she says, I hear what you're saying. She says, but a lot of these kids that are in here, she says, a matter of fact, one time when I was coming out of one of the bathrooms in one of the wards, and at night they give the inmates their medicine, like most of them are on medicine, like they're, just to cope. So I didn't see them. So I'm coming out of the bathroom. I just got through cleaning, and the inmates, mind you, they're kids, teenagers and stuff. They're lined up right there. And so as I'm walking out, one of the guards and the doctors was like, don't move. I said, okay. He said, don't move. He said, I'm going to tell you, go back in the bathroom and lock the door. So I did, because I'm the only woman there, right? So later on when I saw him, he says, I have to tell you that. He says, because a lot of them are sexual deviants. And he says there would be nothing we could do. If they wanted to take you, there'd be nothing we could do. So I went back in there and locked the door. So what I'm saying is I've been in that environment, and I've seen and heard. And I've also seen when I walked in there in some of those wards, when you first walk in, they have what you call when you're taking your own self out of here ward. And they would have those kids in there. A lot of them would try to end it because they were getting ready to go to the big house as an 18-year-old in a big house. And they like, I know I'm going to be fresh meat in the street, so I'm going to try to take my own, myself out. So I've seen a lot. And that's why I say, talk to your kids, because it's fun and games when you're running with the homies and you're doing stuff you shouldn't be doing. But then when you get back there, it's a sad situation. It is. I wouldn't want that for nobody. So, yeah. And then they automatically just give them all this medication. It's sad. That's how I learned what trazodone was. I didn't know what it was until I started working there, and I researched it when I got home. I was like, damn, it's a tranquilizer in a sense, Vicky say, watching, and how you doing? Brother Damon, what's going on with you? Hope you're doing well. Corey says, we definitely need to get our ish together. Yeah, see, we can't have the conversation about everybody else and what they're doing to us and not have the conversation about what we're doing to us. Because there's a lot of Black blood being spilled by Black hands, right? There's a lot of Black deviancy being done from Black people to other Black people. So we can talk about the Democrats and Republicans and the Latinos and the this and the that, but we also have to talk about the things that we do. But you know what's unfortunate, y'all? Unfortunate part is that's not what brings people here. Is accountability. I'm not saying for y'all, but for the most part, but I do intend on talking about more accountability from us, because we owe us at the end of the day, right? FBA for life. What's going on with you? Hope you're doing well.
Real quick, You Must Awaken 569 says, he says, man, I was in juvie. It's not as bad as she's making it. Now, here's my thing, and I'm gonna have to.
Hey, where do you see that comment? Let me see.
Yeah, it's almost at the bottom.
I'll find it. Okay, go ahead. What you're saying?
Yeah. I'm not gonna disagree your lived experience or anything, but I always have a problem when adults like yourself and myself that, you know, kids look up to us on whatever. This is the problem with our children when we give that message out there that it's not that bad, right? I tell people all the time the military is not that bad, but you don't see me telling people go to the military, right? Because this is the problem with our children. When we give the impression that it's not that bad, they don't have a problem going. They're not afraid to go. I really feel that, you know, and this is me personally, nothing against you. You know, I'm not saying make it out to be terrible, but it isn't something that we should downplay to be in the prison pipeline system. Like you're just going to walk in there like a lot of our kids are doing now. I was watching one of those shows in Florida. These teens just murdered this kid over a love triangle, high school kids, over a love triangle. And the girls that were involved in this murder, even though they didn't do the stabbing and stuff, when they were doing the interviewing, you know, if you ever seen the show, they made it seem like it was nonchalant. And when they were in the back of the car talking to each other, they made it seem like going to juvie was no big deal, not realizing you're going to jail possibly for life. So I just really think we shouldn't downplay the legal system in regards to our people, since a good portion of us are incarcerated under Democratic and Republican, but mostly Democratic policy.
I had to go find the comment because I'm like, surely Donovan's making things up. Maybe he needs to renew his eyeglass prescription or something. But yeah, it says, man, when I was in juvie, it's not that bad as she's making it. Opposed to what, sir? What are we comparing this to? Freedom? Being locked up as a child is not that bad compared to what? Going to Disneyland, going to school, being free, and not being behind bars. What are we comparing? What is the litmus test to this? But I'm saying this to you in love, dear brother. I'm sorry that you had to go to juvenile hall for whatever you did. I don't know what that experience was like, but I'm going to say this to you. You's a black man. That's the last thing that should come out of your mouth. It's not that bad. We don't never want our youth to find out, because we know if anybody's going to go to juvenile hall, it's going to be our children that are going to go first and for the longest, right? So you as a black man, you should never be deducing what juvie is. It's not club, a camp for children. It's not the Y, right? It's not the Boys and Girls Club. Juvie is supposed to be a deterrent, and you as a grown man should not be on here talking about it ain't that bad. I want to know who sent you, and are you really a black man? Because a black man worked his weight, and that's walking in love for his people, would do any and everything he could to deter kids from going to juvenile hall. But you talking about it's not that bad, and I want to know, well, what did you like? What did you like in juvenile hall? And I'm scared to ask, because you might tell me something that I don't know. But what did you like about juvenile hall that you could say it wasn't that bad? I don't know. I don't know what your life was on the outside, but to hear a black man say that it wasn't that bad, you should be ashamed of yourself. And I don't know what it is you're doing today. It's Sunday. Maybe you letting your hair down. You didn't cut it down. I don't know what you're doing, brother. But I think you should probably rearrange. I can't tell you what to do, but you should rearrange your understanding when it comes to talking about juvenile hall wasn't that bad. I want to know, what are you comparing this to? Hell? Like what is your litmus test? I'm appalled, actually, and it's rare that I get appalled. You say crime rate in the black communities are down. And that may or may not be true, but is there still crime in the black community that a lot of people say, hey, I really wish I can walk out? I mean, let's stop, okay? Let's stop the foolishness. Let's stop the foolishness. Because I see the play on words. Oh, but crime in the black community is down. But damn, it's still 80%. Stop playing with me, okay? I suck at math, but I know a tiny bit about statistics, and I know statistics is finagled. So when you tell me crime is down in the black community, a dumb mother would say, oh, well, that's great. But somebody who's smart will say, well, what is this percentage? Oh, it's 80%. Are we bragging about crime being down if crime is still 80%?
Well, then also ask yourself, the person that's telling you that. Isn't it funny how these politicians, if they're in a debate or if they're in a town hall, the first thing that they talk about is how crime has gone down, but yet they live in gated communities and have private security? Isn't that kind of strange to you?
Black plumber, how you doing? Yeah. And he said, I'm not saying it's good, but what she's saying, like the kids are animals. I wasn't in juvenile hall. First of all, I wouldn't work in juvenile hall. I worked at the actual prison, CYA, California Youth Authority, which is a full-fledged prison for kids. They graduate from juvenile hall, right? Juvenile hall is kind of where you stay. You know, you've done some things. It's kind of like a reform school, from what I understand. But nah, this is the big house, homie. This is the big house for kids. And then when they age out of the prison for children, then they go to the big house where the adults are. So that's what I'm talking about. Okay. One thing I ain't gonna never do is lie to kick, and I ain't got the like. What sense is it for me to make that up? And I hate when a mofo try to discount you just because you're stay in juvenile hall was like Disneyland. Don't mean that I'm lying about what I saw, right? Like all the things I can make up, and trust me, I got a wild imagination. Why would I make that up? That don't make no sense at all. Whew. Brother Damon says the Nabisco legal system, you stupid. The Nabisco legal system is racist as F against FBA. It sure is. Boogie Girl, how you doing? Says, let's be clear. FBAs are not about anything to do with Africans. One of the diaspora FBA primarily agenda is FBA's agenda in America. Yeah, I mean, like everybody else's agenda. If you in Colombia, your agenda is Colombia. Even here in America, the agenda of a lot of these politicians from Haiti, Jamaica, Mexico, their agenda is they people. And I don't think you're saying it the way to be derogatory, but the Black Americans' agenda should be us. Yeah, it should be about us. So anyway, let's see. Patty Brown in the building, but it sounds like a slave being conditioned not to want to leave the modern plantation. As Malcolm said, any place is better than here. Hashtag jail. Yeah, but Jesus, Lord have mercy. Yeah, Corey, going to jail is horrible. I ain't never been, right? And thank God I ain't never been, but God, it's not that bad. I want to know. That's crazy. Because, like, there are kids that watch me, which is why I try to be careful. But I don't never want them to think that going to juvenile hall ain't that bad. We should be telling them it's horrible, right? The boogeyman is there. And, like, there's this movie I watched, and I tell people to sit down with your children and watch it. It's called Sleepers. Have you ever seen Sleepers? That I can't watch that movie more than once. It's
the one with Kevin Bacon and all the big stars are in it. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Supposedly based off of a true story. I can only watch that movie once. I was horrified, and just like that movie has you on such an emotional roller coaster. It's riveting. It is a riveting. It's hard to watch, but it's a must watch, and even for children. That's why I say watch it with your kids, probably, junior high type of, watch it with them. It's a hard movie to watch, but it only takes that. It only takes one bad decision, and all the things that happen to those kids, because of that one decision. I can't watch it more than once. It's just that riveting, but I think people need to watch it. But I can't see glorifying in any way juvenile hall at all. You said it was literally in there. It wasn't like bad kids. We made bad decisions. I didn't say you were bad kids. Bad people make bad decisions, but to say, well, I didn't think it was that bad. Why would you want anybody to think it's other than bad? Anytime you're locked behind a cage and you can't leave on your own free will, I think that's pretty bad. I think it is, right? And I can't tell you what to do, but I wouldn't be repeating it ain't that bad. You don't want to know. It's your job to save a life, right? I don't go to church, but I know in the Bible reference your testimony like bones in a bag, and you pull them out to remind yourself and to help yourself and to also help others. So your experience in juvenile hall, whether it was good, bad, or indifferent, should be used to help other children stay out of there, because that's what it's for children. Eric, how you doing? It says, I don't even know what that means, but how you doing? TT, what's going on? It says, let them try in Detroit where there's a huge lawsuit over. Yes, that a lot of that goes on in those. That's why I said you watch the movie Sleepers. There is a lot of assault. And a lot of times it's by the guards. Like I told y'all, I don't need to lie to kick it. I got paperwork right there on my desk from an inmate, an inmate who had that done to him by the guards. Okay. And I tell you this right now, they had to pull a pencil from his insides, and he had the colostomy bag because of it. And that was not done to him by inmates. That was done to him by guards. So
I think of all the guards that are ending up pregnant and things of that nature that is going on, and not just in the adult prisons, it's also in the juvenile prisons.
yeah, J Money says, look up Rodney Hill, Austin, Texas. That kid with the fro is my cousin. Rodney Hill. Let me look him up when I get out of here. Okay. So anyway, I didn't realize we was all at 2 hours. Hey, my aunt, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. C Mac says our mayor in Baltimore, Brandon Scott, literally brags about our crime being down, but just spent $20,000 of police equipment on his brand new Wagoneer. So there you go. You know what I mean? But the crime is down opposed to what? 5%, and it's still 85%. Like, what are we doing? You know? But so yeah. Tia says those numbers are down in the private prison, so they are encouraging you to try something. Yeah. And what do we know? What have we learned about private prisons? If you don't know anything about private prisons, you know that it's a what? It's a guaranteed return on investment for the investors. Anything that's private, more than likely, has investors. Okay. So I am investing in this prison. You need to guarantee me what, Donovan? What is the occupancy rate in these prisons?
They have to be what, 93 or above.
90%. Guarantee the investors for your return on your investment 90%. How do you guarantee 90% occupancy in these prisons?
You give judges kickbacks and money to convict and make sure that these kids and adults get into these prisons. And here's the funny thing. A candidate running for governor here in California, Mr. Steyer, he invested in private prisons and made a lot of money. He says that he got rid of that stock and thing, but look at the damage that was done.
Yeah, we're going to be having part of that discussion tomorrow, Donovan. I got it on deck for you. And I know a lot of y'all want us to interview Sister Jessica Jackson, Danny C. Jessica did reach out to me. So yes, we are going to set that up in the near future. Love to talk to Danny C, Zoe, all of them, right? Also going to be talking to Brother Billion Godson there in Los Angeles, California. He's running to replace Isaac Bryan, who is a do nothing for black folks, bald head sucker there. He needs to get up out that seat.
Wait a minute. He is promoting Tom Steyer. That's his guy.
We're going to be having that discussion tomorrow, okay? Because as you said, Tom Steyer they put some money in them prisons, but yet he hobnobbing with the Negroes, right? So yeah, Rodney, how you doing? So the Mexicans talk about the revolution that free black people. But they only have they have on agenda to keep construction jobs for their people. Yeah, they talk about they go ahead, Donovan, because I ain't got the end.
Wait. I'm gonna answer that real quick. When a Mexican tells you all this about the free blacks that ran into Mexico, ask yourself, ask them. Then where are these blacks at in Mexico? Where are they at? Where are these black towns in Mexico?
And the black people in Mexico, they hate them to death, right? Because they dark skinned. The Oaxacans. Exactly. And they, I know they actually got black Mexicans there, but they got it rough.
Look up the town of Guerrero. It is predominantly a black town, black Mexican town, and they had to be put in that area because the country itself is so hostile toward dark-skinned Mexicans.
Yeah, and John Eastman, you say nobody makes you commit crimes. I mean, for the most part, I agree. There's about accountability. We have to be accountable for the things that we do. And being accountable is also telling people that when you have to take accountability for the things you do, you ain't going to like the consequences, right? Because even though you take accountability, that don't mean that you're absolved of the consequences. You got to pay for that, right? Brother Easy, you talked about Brother Field talking about the case where the rapper was unalived and those 4 young men, it was a question between the death penalty or life. And ex-warden says, well, we can get a lot of sweat equity out of them. Let's don't give them the death penalty, but bring them to prison. They said they're going to go in with an inmate number and they're going to go out in the body bag with one. They'll never leave here, but we can basically put them to work. They're young. They can work. So yeah, you said the quiet part out loud. So absolutely. So anyway, Donovan at XM, how you doing? Says black men need to start their own construction company so they can hire black American workers. I co-sign at 100%. First class citizen, how you doing? Hope you're doing well. Gold Crown Eye says I'm on rewind. Juvenile ain't summer camp. No, it's not. It's not. We need to. I don't know. Donovan, what say you? I got really early this morning. I'm just burned out.
Yeah, I know. And you're doing a great job. And again, thank you guys for having this great conversation with us. Tune in tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 5 p.m. Central Time. We're going to get into this politics. Things are gearing up politically. You guys being co-hosts, you have the information. You have the marching orders. Wake these people up. Demetra likes to call people like us resurrectors. You guys are resurrectors as well, because you're waking up the walking dead. It makes no sense to continue to vote for nothing. So another great program. And again, you guys, keep your head on swivel. If you haven't got your Red Dawn 1984 survival packet in your house ready to go in case something pops off, go and get one. Make sure you have a cooler, a solar thing, however you guys want to do it. It's always good to be prepared and have it and not need it than to need it and not have it.
Absolutely. You must awaken. If you don't mind me asking, where were you in juvie at? Where were you in juvie? He says, I was there. Most young dudes are locked up for drugs, not, something like that. It's probably was 1 or 2 dudes locked up for unaliving. Yeah. A lot of people who go to juvie, they're not bad, they're kids. That's why I don't advocate for children going to prison for the rest of their life.
Right, being thrown away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you might not be that when you're an adult. You do stupid stuff when you're kids. I don't think, depending, right? But I don't think you should lock a child up for the rest of his life. Really rehabilitate that child. If you got to keep them behind bars, really go about the business of rehabilitating them. But I just think a lot of people who are even in regular prison, right? Just think they made some bad decisions. And once you get in that system, hell, some of them bad decisions you got to make. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to have to take your life, or you might take something from me, So, yeah, anyway, he says, you locked yourself in the bathroom scared of grape. But that's not, that was told to me. Again, see, you're not listening. I need you to listen, brother. That was a prison. I didn't know why he told me to go in the bathroom. This was the staff and the correctional officer that told me to do that. It was 2 of them, and it was probably about 10, 12 of the inmates going to take their medicine. And I was walking out of the bathroom. I didn't see them, right? Because if you know anything about the doors and the locks, like is a door, every door in there locks, right? And even that door locks. So I just walked out, and the doors sometimes I didn't hear them out there. So as I was getting ready to walk out, he says, "Don't move." He said it just like that. He says, "Now go back in there and lock the door." And when he took them back, because they were going to bed for the night. So again, I'm repeating this, okay? Because maybe you missed something. They have to take their medicine. Because a lot of those, this is prison. A lot of them are on medications. They're taking their medicine for the night. Then they went back, and then when I saw him, the staff, he told me why. He says a lot of them are sexual deviants, and I could not guarantee your safety in the moment. So that's why he told me to go, but I didn't do that on my own. The staff told me to do that. I just want to be clear. See, because I don't have to lie, right? And for you to say that you've been in juvenile hall, juvenile hall and prison are different. But I know that they do that stuff in juvenile hall too. I know for a fact that they do that stuff. So maybe your experience was like Disneyland, rainbows and roses and lollipops and all of that. But I don't think that's the average experience. But to sit up here and call me a liar, no, I don't think so, homie. I ain't never got a lie to kick it to you, especially somebody I ain't never met. What I look like lying to you? A fool. Computer Blue, how you doing? King Shaw says jail healthcare is the worst. Yeah, they get you hooked on phonics. Not even just the jails, but these nursing homes go check on your people. These rehabilitation centers go check on your people because they get you hooked on phonics, and they do that to keep you in there. Yeah, D. Will, you know what I'm talking about. Somebody can't take a chance. Like you said, I can't guarantee your safety. Go and lock the door. So that's just stupid to lie about that. I mean, but I guess maybe you're the aficionado of juvenile hall. I hate that for you. Anyway, I love and appreciate every last one of y'all, but please come back. He says, J Money, sorry, I'm at work, but the reason I told you to look up that story is because my cousin just turned 17 at the time, and they're talking about giving him. Oh no, okay, I got to look that up. No, we got to look that up. I hate to hear that, but we have to look that up. Yeah, prisons and jails are not the same. They not. Anyway, Empress, how you doing? Love and appreciate every last one of y'all. See y'all later.